Welcome to Cornbread and Kool-Aid Podcast. My name is Demetrius. Podcast is for fans of the Detroit Lions, fans of Detroit sports in general, fans of grown men with braces. And we have to dig into something we haven't done in a while, right? Week 15, Buffalo Bills come to town to face the 12-1 Lions. Always shout out the super producer extraordinaire, Mike Ward. Since week 2, we haven't done this kind of podcast. And I use the term this kind strictly in the sense of they had won coming into the day 11 straight games in many different ways, many different fashions. And we talked about, hey, how do they win? How do they go about winning? We never apologize for a win. So how do we come out of technical issues with that? This is what happens when the Lions lose. Everything doesn't work. So 48-42, it wasn't that close. I could do a whole thing about I love how they don't give up, but I don't care. Much like we don't apologize for wins, I don't make excuses for losses. I will do my whole speech about the difference between losing and getting beat. Today was a combination. Generally, I say if the other team is just better or plays better on that day, you got beat. There's a case to be made they got beat today. If you didn't watch the game and you just see the score, I got to be honest, it wasn't that close. I always say the same thing. If you watched it and there were no jerseys and no score, you know who the better team is. You can watch the game and one team is clearly better than the other team. And today there was no doubt that team was Buffalo. Now, I will do the speech about reason versus excuse. Sometimes there is a reason a team loses a game. But if you say it and you say it the wrong way, people hear excuse. I don't do excuses. This podcast, a lot of it is reasons, right? And the simple fact is this. The Lions backups are not going to beat 3 or 4 teams in this league. So that's our new reality is the Lions backups are not good enough to win a Super Bowl. It doesn't mean I don't think they'll win out, still have home field advantage, still be in the Super Bowl and still possibly win it. So don't misunderstand me. I still have that belief. They played one of the 3 or 4 best teams in football today. And with quite possibly the MVP of the league playing quarterback for that team, and they did whatever they wanted. They did whatever they wanted. And so I could do the silver lining thing, which is really what Cornbread and Kool-Aid is all about, and tell you this isn't a bad loss. We're still 12-2. We control our own destiny. All that is true. The Lions went out. They're the 1 seed, and they're hosting the NFC Championship game. But there is another very real fact that I can't ignore, which is at the current level, when you lose Carlton Davis, it limits what you can do in terms of coverage. When you lose Aleem McNeil, it limits how you handle the run. And when you've got new players who make simple mistakes, and I'll talk a lot about contained discipline. That's a new term. It's not a new term. If you don't know what that term is, I'll talk about it a lot. Don't worry. Contained discipline was a big thing today. And it's simply, you have a job. Every individual guy has a job. And, I have a real job. And it's something that comes up every day in my real job. My lane is my lane. I try and do my job. I don't try and do other people's jobs. I don't think I'm qualified. I don't know enough. And guess what? They're getting paid to do their jobs. That's their job. And I don't respond well when other people are trying to do my job. So on every play, defense, for example, and I'll jump in. I almost rabbit hole that. Let's sort of reset. Lions are still 12-2, still have the best record or tied for the best record in the league. They own the tiebreaker over Philadelphia and Minnesota. So what that means is everything they want to accomplish is still in front of them. When they sat down at the beginning of the year, they said, win the division, number 1 seed, host the NFC Championship game. Those were the goals, or at least they were mine. I wasn't in the room. They can still do all of that. We don't even need Minnesota to lose. We'll beat Minnesota last week in Detroit if that's what it takes. But if they win out, all their goals are in front of them. They're the 1 seed because they have a tiebreak over Philadelphia and Minnesota. So don't forget they're 12-2. Don't forget all their goals are in front of them. And like I said, it's been a while since I've done a lost podcast, so I've kind of forgotten what I'm supposed to do here. But the high level, I think I titled it "They're Mortal," and all I mean is their backups aren't good enough to win the Super Bowl. So we got to get healthy. I still think, all things being equal, Lions are the best team in football. Right now, the Lions, all things aren't equal. They're not healthy, and that's not an excuse, because I will say very at the top of the podcast here, Buffalo was the better team today. Buffalo did everything they wanted. That was not a 6-point game. Buffalo dominated us for most of the game. Offensively, there's no question. The best unit on the field all day was Buffalo. So I'll do a little bit about the game. Then I want to talk about 2, what I think were key moments, key plays, maybe even 3, that we just got to discuss, because it's going to be the talk of the week. It's going to be the narrative for the national and local media. So a little bit about the game, a couple of key moments, and then we'll do the 3 questions, which we always do. So, but high level, don't forget, still 12-2, still top team. You can call this a dose of reality, a reality check, humbling, however you want to do it. It's fine. I believe that the Lions haven't lost 2 games in a row since early 2022. And that may or may not be an important stat. We'll find out when they come to Chicago next week. That should be fun. I think everything they want is still in front of them. That's important to remember. So, having not done one of these in a while, it is a dose of reality. It is one of those things where you think, did we find out anything that we didn't already know? And I don't think that's the case. I think we knew Buffalo was good. My brother texted this morning, said it'd be a shootout. I had texted guys and said, hey, I'm a little concerned today, right? This is a good team, and it's not an excuse, but it's a reason. We have a lot of injuries. We just do. So I was a little concerned. I am not, hopefully you can tell, I'm not really bothered. This doesn't shake me at all. I still think we're the best team in the league, and we're still 12-2. But we always use on the podcast school grades, right? And I've always said, if you play a C+ game, C- C+ game, there are a number of teams in the league that can beat you. Today, in some ways, they might have played a B- game, but Buffalo played like an A game. And if a team of that caliber, doesn't matter what the game is, they play an A game, you play B-, you're going to lose. At times, we did not play even that level. But Buffalo is one of the 3 or 4 teams that certainly has the potential to beat you. Good news is, if we get a rematch, it's in the Super Bowl. I'll take it. They are one of those teams. They're not pretending. They beat the Chiefs, and they beat us. Buffalo fans could stand on a soapbox and suggest they're the best team in the league, and you really could not. You couldn't argue with them. You could argue with them, but they have a case. They have a case. This game wasn't as close as the score indicated. Like I said, Buffalo's offense was the best team on the field. I think the key, not the key, a key, you can't start that slow. When you spot the other team 14, even if it's just in the first quarter, you mentally can't do what you do anymore, because what you do is you run the ball, you grind, and then you do play action. So what happened was spotting them 14 points took away your run, your ability to call running plays. I don't think they shut down the running game. I think Ben Johnson had to call a different game because you were immediately down 2 touchdowns and you spent the bulk of the game down 2 scores. And it's hard to stay committed to the run when you're down 2 scores. I think that hurt. It's a little concerning, the slow start offensively. Hadn't seen that in a while. But when you get behind early and you take out the run, you put yourself behind the 8 ball, because the thing that you do better than anybody in the league, the thing that Jared Goff does better than anybody in the league, is play action. And you fundamentally took the play action out of the game by midway through the second quarter, because you recognized that you were just trading scores, right? You couldn't stop them. And I think that Buffalo had 320 yards at halftime. The Lions averaged 320 yards a game, giving up on defense. They had accumulated that at halftime. There were a couple of fluky plays, but a lot of that stuff boiled down to the term I mentioned, contained discipline. And if you think of the line of scrimmage as this rectangular area, there are guys on the edge whose job is front to back, play your lane. So when this guy does what's called crashing down and they go outside, that's an easy play. Running backs did it. The quarterback did it a lot because some of these guys are new. And I can't be mad at an Al-Qadim Muhammad. I can't be mad at a Pat O'Connor, whoever it was. I saw Muhammad do it for sure. They're losing contain on the outside. And when you have a quarterback that's mobile, he will make you pay. And early in the game, Allen made them pay 3 to 5 times. Key plays, big third downs they converted. They converted a fourth down for a long play because when he can scramble out, the backside can't defend that long. Secondaries can't cover that long. That was really, really important defensively early. They did what they wanted because we had no contained discipline. And I saw that, and it was immediately a concern. And then I did not see it get better in the second half. Buffalo had 560 yards of total offense. That's not a good number. I think they punted twice. I think maybe one punt, one on downs. I think they scored on, 6 touchdowns on 6 of 8 possessions and 2 field goals or something like that. They were the best unit on the field today by far. And I have no problem saying the better team today won that game. Now, if we happen to get them again on February 9th, we might be a different team than we were today from a health standpoint, from a personnel standpoint. And that's important. That's how you have to look at this. You don't have to yell or scream and go, oh my God, we're in trouble. We're not. There aren't many teams as good as Buffalo. Maybe 1 or 2. We won 11 straight, which gave us the luxury of being able to drop a game without it devastating our goals. So I look at that. I think there were some good things. It's cornbread and Kool-Aid is the podcast. So I got to point out good stuff. I think for those of you who, it's kind of an inside joke with my brother, Goff scrambling for 10 yards and prolonging that drive, and then Skipper scoring a touchdown. Cute, great. Would have been nicer if we won the game. I think I got to mention the impact of the injuries one more time because I'm worried about Aleem McNeil. He's critical. He's so critical, and that injury looks serious. He walked off the field angry, like he knew what it was, and he knew it wasn't good. That's the type of reaction a guy has when he knows this is not good. I hope I'm wrong. I can't tell you how valuable Carlton Davis is. When he's not in the game, there are things Aaron Glenn can't do. Just can't. He can try, but Kendall Vildor's not Carlton Davis. Kendall Vildor's probably by all accounts, he's a nice guy. He's a professional football player, so he's certainly not a bum. There are things that Kendall Vildor can't do that Carlton Davis can, and that's important. So I think the injuries to Aleem McNeil and Carlton Davis were huge, stayed huge the whole game, and I hope we can get them back for the Minnesota game for sure. I'm not going to be boastful and say I think we can beat Chicago and San Francisco without them, but I do. So there's that. I think that there was a piece where it looked like Buffalo came out ready to play. The Bills were sharp from the first snap, and I don't think the Lions were. And I talked earlier about you can't spot a team that good, 14 points, which eliminates what you can do running and play action, and then just play a back and forth shootout and expect to catch them. And Goff did everything he could. Goff did what he could. People will call those garbage stats and garbage points, and that's fine. They were trying. They fought. And there's value in having a team that doesn't quit. But Buffalo made every big play they needed. We saw uncharacteristic mistakes by the Lions. I saw Ragnow just get manhandled by Ed Oliver. And Frank Ragnow, I still contend, is the best center in football. It happens. But at the end of the day, their MVP-level quarterback played like an MVP-level quarterback all day. got chunk plays when he needed to. I think they had almost 10 plays of 20 yards or more. And I think the most important thing as I finish up with the game is they dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That's how you win in football. That's how you beat the Detroit Lions. Reserves or starters, you give yourself a chance to beat the Lions if you dominate the line of scrimmage. And I think Buffalo did that today. I can be honest with that. Okay, so want to talk about a couple of key moments in the game, right? So there's a play where Amon-Ra caught a pass over the middle and fumbled. And they recovered it, right? And for me, there's a bunch here. It was a great throw. It was a great catch. I think the rule has a term called a football move. Now, it might be number of steps. So I'm going to grant that I might be wrong. And if you're out there and you want to comment and correct me, you can tell me I'm wrong. A part of me wonders why that wasn't an incomplete pass, because I didn't think he made what they call a football move. Now, the rule might be 2 steps equals a football move. 3 steps equals. I feel like he took 2 steps for sure. But I didn't feel like he really had that catch and made a football move. Not an excuse. I'm just talking about a play and a rule. Because I thought I understood that rule. And I feel like I don't. I feel like it has to be something around the number of steps he took. And I'll look into it. They'll talk about it probably. It might be 2 steps equals a football move. I know the term football move is a real thing. It's a term that's been used. I've heard it used. So maybe that's what it is. I really wondered if you could have challenged that. I don't know if you can challenge it, though. But once they did, okay. Our Chris one says 3rd step counts as a football move. Okay. I wasn't 100% sure, but I thought that's what it was. And I can buy that he took 3 steps. Okay. Well, that kind of sucks. I was hoping I had a case there. That's okay, though. That's legit. St. Brown doesn't fumble a lot. He had a career day outside of the fumble. Certainly not bashing ASB. Never. It would be tough for me to bash him. I should have pulled his stats. I'm going to guess something around 15 catches, close to 200 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm not going to badmouth him at all. He had a great day. The second moment, what I think was key, and it's going to be talked about. It's going to be the thing. And again, if you're listening and you feel inclined, I wouldn't mind hearing everybody's thoughts on the onside kick. My feeling is simple. Because you have to declare, and I'll do it 2 parts. Declaring is stupid. That renders it useless. If you know I'm doing it, what's the point? I think they got to change that. That is horrible that you have to declare. Even with that crappy rule in place, I think it was too early. I think it was a 10-point game at that point. 12 minutes left is what I want to say. And I don't always dig in every stat. Sometimes I just want to freestyle. And today, with it being a loss, which I hadn't done in a while, I thought I'm not going to dig up a bunch of stats. I'm going to talk about how I feel about this game, because I think we all have some feelings about it. And I think the number 1 bullet from the game is going to be the onside kick. No, number 1 bullet is Josh Allen probably wrapped up the MVP award, despite what Jared Goff did. Josh Allen probably wrapped up the MVP award. I think he had 2 rushing and 2 passing, probably 400-ish yards, well over 3, I would think. And he probably wrapped up the award. But this onside kick thing, the rule is one part of the conversation. And then it's going to feed into we got to find something wrong with Dan Campbell. We don't. But the 4-letter is going to blast them tomorrow. Maybe they already are. The local, there's certain guys on the local that are going to give him grief. I'm not going to treat this like the 4th down thing. For me, the 4th down thing is that's who he is. We know who he is. Stop asking him to not be who he is. This is different. So I don't like the rule. Let me make that clear. I think the rule is stupid. I think the rule hurt the Lions today. That being said, I don't like the move. I don't think he should have done it. Knowing the rule, whether we like the rule or not, knowing the rule, I think it was too early. I think he will almost surely say something about how he felt. He will talk about trying to get momentum. He will probably talk about trusting his players. But I think if he says that, if he utters the words, no, let me take a step. This is the only scenario I see. And it's just not good. He knew his defense couldn't stop Buffalo. We all know, we saw it, we watched it, right? We knew they couldn't stop it. My feeling was this, even with 10 or 12 or whatever minutes left, the decision he made at that moment was, I can give them the ball on the 20, they're probably going to drive down and score. I can give them the ball on the 30, they're probably going to drive down and score, or I can give them the ball at the 50, and they're probably going to drive down and score. If you give them the ball at the 50, that's less time they can take off the clock when they drive down and invariably score a touchdown, because all evidence on the day suggested they're going to drive down and score a touchdown. The one option that equals not giving them the ball is onside kick. I think that's what happened. I don't know how he's going to spin it, what he'll say about it. I have no idea. I'm trying to rationalize it because I really thought it was a bad call. And I thought it represented an admission that you knew you couldn't stop him. Now, that's probably factually accurate. So I can't even be mad that you said, we can't stop him. I'm going to try and get the ball back. But I think there's 12 minutes and you have to try. You're only down 10. At that point, you kick the ball off. And so I'm struggling to bash him, although I know everyone else is, because if we're really honest, he had no evidence that his team could stop them from getting to the end zone, whether they went 70 to get to the end zone, 80 to get to the end zone, or 50. What he did not expect was a dude would just grab the ball and run to the 5-yard line. That's why he's going to get blasted. Because what the 4-letter and all the talking heads on the 4-letter do is they bash you after the fact, 20/20 hindsight on the result. I'm not doing that. I think it's irrelevant that the guy ran the ball back to the 5. Turns out they only had to go 5 yards to score, and they did that quick, fast, and in a hurry. My feeling is they were going to drive 80. They were going to drive 70. They were going to drive 50, and they absolutely were going to drive 5. That drive, if Buffalo gets the ball, was going to result in a touchdown. And I almost think he went smartest guy in the room and said, I'd rather they score from the 50 because it'll take less time and we can get the ball back in Jared Goff's hands. I don't think he'll ever admit that, because then it is a clear admission that we could not stop them. Now, maybe he will. He's an honest dude. He goes pretty straightforward and honest about it. Maybe he will. I think that was a key moment of the game because it was Dan Campbell admitting clear, we can't stop him. And I just recognized our Kush One is my good friend, Rich. What's up, Rich? I didn't know that was you. I think that's you. So as far as that, that's a big thing, because Dan Campbell generally coaches from this place of I trust my players, I trust guys can get it done. And I think that was the rare admission of we can't stop them. And I think I want to see how he responds as he talks about it during the week. In terms of key moments, I think those are huge. I got to talk about a couple of guys. St. Brown, I mentioned the stats. I don't know if I nailed them. Something like 14 or 15 catches, almost 200 yards and a touchdown. He just makes plays. Outside the fumble, he makes plays. He's so reliable. He's so dependable. It's crazy. I think Laporta is back, which I think will be nice. We have missed Sam Laporta for a good portion of the season, even though we won 11 straight. I didn't see a lot of J-Mo until the touchdown, but that's okay. We had to play a different style of game. And I do not like a stat line where Jared Goff throws 60 passes. I don't like it. 59 to be precise. 38 of 59, 494, 5 touchdowns, quarterback rating 118. I will tell you that as impressive as those stats might sound, if you told me that's what his stat line was going to be 4 hours ago, I would have told you the Lions lost the game. I don't. To me, the window, Goff should throw somewhere between 18 and 28 passes. Then I know we won. And I think it's easy to support, right? You're running, and because you're running, your play action, which means his percentage is probably up because he's the best play action quarterback in the league. But if you tell me Jared Goff threw 60 passes, even if he completed 38 of them for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, I would bet anything that mattered to me that they lost the game because it would almost certainly look like today's game looked. It's the only kind of scenario where Goff needs to throw 60 passes, right? So unfortunately, that's how it went down. It's still a good game for. I don't think I'm not gloating about Goff. So I think Goff is what he is. You know how I feel about Goff. I think that today's game was one where we couldn't do anything on defense, and to your point, we had to try some stuff. The onside kick was him trying to figure out a way to do something. They didn't really stop us. Let's be honest. We stopped ourselves for the most part. Offensive line didn't have their best game. I don't bash that unit. They're too good. Too good for me to pick one data point after an 11-game win streak and say the offensive line sucks. No. And I even disagree with my brother who texts that Terry and Arnold sucks. He's another Darius Slay, who was a good player, but my brother hated him for reasons I don't know. Terry and Arnold played much better football. I heard a stat, and I'll give the guy on the radio credit because I didn't know it. He has, I think, 6 PI or holding calls this year, maybe 7. And the conventional theory is he gets one every game. He doesn't. The first 4 games of the season, I think he got 5 of them. And then he got one 2 weeks ago. He had a holding on special teams. Terry Arnold is playing better football. He does not get burnt every play, as my brother would have you believe. I think he's going to be a really good corner in this league. But, again, Goff had a great – I wouldn't say a great game. I don't want that game from Goff. It'll help his stats. It'll balance out the 5-interception game in Houston. I don't like that stat line. I don't want that stat line. That stat line doesn't make me feel better about my quarterback. It doesn't. I want Goff to be 21 of 25 for 240 and 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns because we probably ran in a bunch. So deceptive stat line for my quarterback, but there's a whole bunch of silver linings that I could do. I could tell you how this game, this loss could be good because they could make a case that if they were healthier, if they had Davis and Anzalone, if they had Hutch, right? If they had certain guys, they would have won that game. I don't know. I like that they never quit, right? And you're playing one of the best teams in the league, so you got to measure yourself against one of the better teams. If we get them again, it's in the Super Bowl, and I still like our chances. So there's a way to process a loss. I have forgotten how to do it. That's what we're doing now. So we're going to do our 3-question segment and then wrap this up. So let me get 3. First one. What does tonight's game mean long term? Wow. I don't know if I'd say much, right? Maybe you're a little humbled. Maybe you needed to be reminded. Maybe psychologically there is value in a loss. And if there was going to be a loss, this is the one because A, they're a good team. It's not in the NFC, so it doesn't count in any tiebreakers. And I guess it keeps you motivated because the 1 seed is still in play. I hope you just take it and look at the tape and find lessons around gap discipline and contained discipline. I hope you look at it and you take some of these young guys who are making bad plays to teach them. And yes, question in the comments is, will the defense be healthy by playoff time? I am almost certain Anzalone will be back, which will help. I don't know about Aleem McNeil today. I heard rumors about Derek Barnes, but I don't buy it. I hope Carlton Davis gets back, but I think he's in protocol, and I don't like to mess around with concussions. So if you have to sit him against Chicago, no disrespect, you should beat him. You should beat Chicago without him. If you have to sit him against San Francisco, that game won't matter for San Francisco. They got a bunch of injuries. Even though the game's in San Francisco, I think you're a better team and you should beat San Francisco without him. So Anzalone is huge. I think offensively, they're pretty good. Decker played today. I didn't hear anything. Hutch is the one that I don't even like to speculate. I've heard everything from he can make it to the Super Bowl to somebody reported, Jay Glazer or somebody reported last week that he might be back sooner. So I don't know. That's huge. But it is much more. Today was health helped. Health hurt. Sorry. But if you get back Anzalone, he's more important than I thought. I don't know about Aleem will be a big myth if we lose Aleem. But if we have 100% of Pascal and 100% of DJ Reader, like pretty close to 100% healthy, and you can get Carlton Davis back. Honestly, I just think Carlton Davis was huge. So in terms of the question, I think they'll get some guys back, and I think that'll help. But what I really believe is Jamal Adams will get better. Quan Alexander will get better. Zeke Turner made 2 really bad plays today, and they were costly. They were assignment mistakes, which happens when a guy's been here a week and a half. Hopefully he'll get better. Zadarius Smith's still a really good football player. So I think there could be some guys coming back by playoff time. But got to go to Chicago and win. Got to go to San Francisco and win. And then if the Minnesota game matters, cool. If not, then you get a rest. You get like 2 weeks of rest. So there's an opportunity as much as I don't mind earning it. If you can handle your business, and Chicago and San Francisco should just be business trips, handle your business. You come home and you get Minnesota, and Minnesota doesn't drop a game, and Philadelphia doesn't drop a game, then you come home and win that game. As far as the original question, maybe you're a little humbled. Maybe you get it fired. You remember what it's like to lose. You get back to basics, though. I think you got to get back to basics because you have young players or players who haven't been on the roster long, and you got to work with those guys. They have to play better because they might have to play in the playoffs. So Zeke Turner has to play better. Pat O'Connor has to continue to play better. Al-Qadim Muhammad has to play better. Kendall Vildor has to play better because they might be the guys who were playing. Kendall Vildor was on the field last January in San Francisco. So that might be it. All right, let's take the second question. Who gets the blame pie? So the blame pie is a concept like a pie chart, and you're looking at reasons or causes for something, and you split up the pieces and you put a percentage in each spot. The guys on Sports Talk Radio do it a lot, and they do it well, and they do it better than I'm going to do it right now. No, they're not. I got it. Everybody. Like, there's a lot of pie. Like, if your name's not St. Brown, Laporta, or Goff, yeah, you might get some pie. You might get a slice. And I could do it. I could cheat. I could really cheat and say 4 pieces of pie, 25% each. Campbell gets 25% because I didn't agree with the onside kick. And I think there was an opportunity with 2:40 left in the game that you could have called a timeout. And you could have had the 3-minute warning. I'm sorry, the 2-minute warning plus 2 timeouts. You could have effectively 3 timeouts left. They're about to line up for a field goal, and instead you let the clock run down to fundamentally 2:01 or 2:02. They kick the field goal. Now it's 2-minute warning. I think you lost an opportunity there for about 35 seconds. Now, would it have mattered? Had you got the onside kick, I would be bitching about that 30 seconds that you let get away. I agree with Odd. Yep, I still think there's a trip to New Orleans coming up. I really do. I really do. So I believe that Dan Campbell gets his piece, mostly for just those 2 calls. I think Ben Johnson gets a piece, and I know it's blasphemy to ever say anything bad about Ben Johnson, but I think Ben Johnson, not just the first 2 possessions, but even down 14-0 in the first quarter, I think you had to stay committed to the run. I think you had to, and I don't think they did. Now, there's a case to be made that we scored 42 points, bro. How are you bad-mouthing the OC when we scored 42 points? So I'm gonna cut Ben's pie, and I'm gonna give AG half of his pie. And somewhere Art's throwing a party and I don't know if I blame AG, and I don't know if Art still dislikes AG. I shouldn't say that. It is not an excuse, but it's a reason. Kenny, my brother, brings up a good point. We didn't blitz as much as I thought we needed to today, and some of that might have been it's Josh Allen. I don't know if blitzing Josh Allen is a good business model. I think the Lions decided it wasn't because they didn't have Carlton Davis, which I think limits some stuff you can do on the back end. And I am really talking about how critical Carlton Davis is because I think he's underrated, and he is. So I'm going to give Campbell 25%. I'm going to give Ben 12.5%. It's weird. I'm going to give Aaron Glenn his own 25 plus half of Ben's, so he gets 37.5. And that's not even fair because he's working with what he's got. And excuse the grammar, that ain't a lot. That ain't enough. That's for sure. And he's doing what he can. But I agree with Kenny. I think at some point today, you needed to sell out, put pressure, and try and force Josh Allen to make a mistake. Because if you don't, he's going to do what he did, which was whatever he wanted. Whether he ran, whether he rolled out, pointed some guy to go deep and threw the ball 60 yards. He did whatever he wanted, right? So there's plenty to go around. And then there's players. I don't think the offensive line had a great day. I don't. I think that I don't pick on – yeah. I mean, I like Kendall Vildor. Let me make that clear. I think he's a professional football player, talented young man. He's young. He didn't have a good day. I don't think Quan Alexander had a good day at all. I think he got beat in coverage a couple of times by running backs early in the game. When the tone of the game was being set early in the first quarter, when Buffalo was establishing quite simply, we're the better team, you're going to have to chase us. And then we were playing catch up the rest of the way. I don't know that Zeke Turner had a good game. Can't badmouth this kid. He's been on the roster for 2 weeks. But there's a piece of pie for players as well. So I think there's a good mix of people. I think Buffalo is better today. I think Buffalo is, and that's okay. We're not used to it. We forgot because Tampa didn't beat us. Tampa won the game. I think we made some mistakes. I am not bashing Terrion Arnold, Kenny. Stop it. That's a good young player who's going to be better. My brother is intent on me bashing Terrion Arnold, and it's not going to happen. I think that there's room for improvement. But Buffalo, again, I go back to the start. Don't forget, we're still 12-2. Everything we want is in front of us. This is not a funeral. This is not a wake. No, it's one game. It's one game. And it's almost meaningless because anything that we could have achieved 6 hours ago, we can still achieve. This is why I do the podcast, by the way. When I started the podcast, I had all this energy and emotion, and I talk to my friend Rich about this all the time, what the podcast is for me. It's an opportunity for me to process it. When I'm done, I'm going to go have a cupcake and some coffee, and I'm going to chill out and have a decent night because I get to go through this. But in the 39 minutes since I started this, I've gotten to a place now where I'm not even bothered by this loss anymore. I'm at a point where this loss is meaningless. It was just one game. It was to a good team that played really well. We didn't give up. We hung around. There's some value in that. I know we had guys on the field who've been with the team less than 2 weeks. I know the why. It was guys trying to do too much, not doing their jobs, particularly on defense. And we were playing an MVP level court. The guy who's probably going to win MVP played a really good game, and they were a really good team. Yeah, the Terrion Arnold argument is happening in the comments. My less emotional cousin is telling my more emotional brother that Terrion Arnold's a really good player. I think I'm boiling this down now to didn't like the onside kick, didn't like handling of the clock in the last 3 minutes of the game. So Dan gets his, and he'll get hammered. The Teddy Bruschi is somewhere writing his cute little sayings. They're going to give it to him, and it's okay. Dan Campbell doesn't care, and they'll be fine. So a really good team came to Detroit, played a really good game. We did not play our best, and they won by 6. It wasn't that close, but there's some positives. Our quarterback is still awesome. We still have one of the best receivers in the league. Our tight end's good. I'm not even bothered. I'm good. The podcast did its job today. I am fine. I'm taking one more question. I'm good. It served me well. Are the Bears and 49ers get right games? Yes. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it is when a good team struggles, if you can call one loss to a really good Buffalo team a struggle, and you need an opponent that is clearly inferior so that you can go and get a win, maybe a dominant win, and, air quotes, get right. The Bears are a get right game. The Bears are a really tasty get right game. Now, there's a risk, I guess, of me saying that because there's somebody somewhere who thinks the Lions can come to Chicago, not play well, and lose the game. Oh, and by the way, if you're coming to Chicago, tell me where the party is Saturday, because I'm leaving it open. I want these traveling people who travel in these groups. I want to come and hang out and chant Jared Goff. And I'm free Saturday night, so let me know where the party is. So I think that the 49ers, I think they're really injured. I think we're better. So one game at a time is still a smart motto. By every real measure, the Bears are a get-right game. I expect the Lions to come to Soldier Field, irrespective of the weather. In fact, I hope the weather is jacked up. Actually, I don't, because I might go to the game. So I hope the weather's great, actually. But it is a perfect scheduling get-right game. So the short answer to your question is yes. I think they have had games this year that were supposed to be tough, and they went in and won them, right? So they got 2 losses. Why am I acting like we're some average team? We have 2 losses. A game that we probably let slip away against Tampa, and a game against one of the best teams in the league who played super well today, and their quarterback's playing MVP level ball. So, sorry. I keep an eye on the comments. I want the podcast to be interactive. That's important. I like to integrate people. So if you put something in the comments, I'll call you out by name, especially if I think it's funny, interesting, or relevant. But my brother on this crusade to bench Terrion Arnold, I'm not doing it anymore. Chicago is definitely a get-right game. San Francisco might be. And then if Minnesota and Philly make the final game matter, that'll be awesome. That game will be in Detroit. The place will be full. The place will be crazy. That'll be great. I like the Lions at home against Minnesota in a must-win game. I think they have demonstrated to us 12 out of 14 times that they can beat anybody, right? And if they played Buffalo 10 times, I don't feel uncomfortable saying the Lions win 5 or 6 of those games. I have no problem with that. If they played Tampa 10 times, I think we beat Tampa 8. I think they made 2 plays against Tampa that cost them that game. So sitting here with a 12-2 football team, explaining a loss to a Super Bowl caliber team feels weird. So I'm kind of done. Handle your business in Chicago. Take care of business against San Francisco. Let's see if the Minnesota game matters, and then just go win it. So I'll close it out by, you know what? I forgot what it was like to do a podcast after a loss. But guess what? 44 minutes and 56 seconds later, I feel fine, which is the whole point of the podcast. It is a new world with a grown man wearing braces and the Lions getting a win. I mean, the Lions taking a loss. So now today had to be an interesting day. I am fine with it. They're going to be fine. So let's digest it. Listen to Dan Campbell get blasted all week by national and local media, which I'm not going to. I'm going to ignore it. Thank God I have a work trip this week, so I don't have to. I get to get out of my routine. But I'm looking forward to next week. And right. So my cousin Stevie said, "Hey, there it is. Don't have to explain it, right? They keep them humble. You can't win them all. Can't win them all. How have I not said? Nice job, Stevie. How have I not said you can't win them all? I should have led with you can't win. I should have titled the podcast "You Can't Win Them All." And Kenny wants it on the record that he said 15-2 months ago. He did. I saw it. That's fine. But I should have titled the podcast "You Can't Win Them All." But that's where I am now anyway. So it's great. But sometimes I need to process it. And 45 minutes later, I'm like, you can't win them all. I'm good. I think we're fine. I'm looking forward to partying with some Lions fans in Chicago Friday and or Saturday. I'm looking forward to the game against the Bears, no matter what the weather's like. And let's still enjoy the ride. We got 3 more, and then they get serious. But I think we have a really good football team that needs to get healthy, bring some guys back. And I still like our chances, man, against almost anybody. I want Buffalo back now. The final thought for me, I hope we get a rematch in the Super Bowl. That's what I need. That's what I want. If Anzalone is back, Carlton Davis is healthy, Hutch, right? I want him again in New Orleans. That's what I want. So thank you again for listening. If you enjoy it, like, heart, repost, thumbs up, whatever you do to acknowledge something you like, I appreciate it. If you didn't like it, you can let me know, but I'm still going to show up next week. So I don't know. It's probably a waste of time. So different feel, different vibe. Haven't done one in a while. Thanks for listening. Hope everybody has a good night. On to Chicago, as Bill Belichick would say. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.